Start streaming. Good evening, everybody. It's Monday at 9:30 on the East Coast, 6:30 on the West Coast. It's time for the weekly Calamity Jane live stream. James, how's it going?
I can't complain. How you doing?
I'm hanging in there, just relaxing on a cool Monday, late winter, early spring evening in Georgia.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
I guess I do have a little. I have a minor complaint
I'm ready.
myself,
This is the time to air all of your grievances.
and this is me whining. I started doing the Nintendo Switch uh, Ring Fit today. I decided to pick
Oh,
it back
oh,
up again.
oh! Did you?
Yeah.
I'm ready. So, what's
So
the complaint?
my complaint is I'm sore because I'm just out of shape.
Oh, okay. So it
That's
seems like
all.
it works then. It did what it did
No, yeah,
as
it did.
advertised.
Yeah, so far. I mean, I would consider this day one. I actually started a couple of when I bought it like last year. And I thought it'd be a perfect, like, especially during the pandemic, to kind of use that as a workout
Sure.
thing.
Yeah, I know
Then
a
I kind of
bunch of
just
people.
started using the elliptical
Mm-hmm.
instead. But I figured I'd try it out again, and so I started back up. My intent is to at least do it for like a week straight and see how it goes, and then
Mm-hmm.
maybe add another week or
Mm-hmm.
etc. So we'll see. But today was day one, and like, oh man, I mean, it's good because it forces me to do other types of exercise besides just doing the elliptical, which is pretty much just walking in place.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, so yes, like as you said, it did its job for today. But I feel like a wimp because I did it for it keeps track of your workout time, so
Yeah.
how long you're
Yeah.
actually moving.
Yeah.
So I did like 10 minutes on that. Then I went back to elliptical, and I was just like, I'm beat. I just realized, man, I'm really out of shape if I can't handle ring fit.
The
Um,
challenge, of course, is don't like get discouraged, right? Like
yeah,
I do an exercise regime called bar, and um, uh, when the pandemic hit, everything shut down, and I wasn't able to do it for 6 months, and then I'm back at it. But man, that first month I was back, when I got back
mm,
into it, it was tough. Like it was almost like I used to be able to do this. What happened?
yeah, yeah.
It's
It's
amazing
funny
how
how
quickly it all goes away. Like
it
if you
goes
don't,
away.
ugh, it's
Yeah.
awful.
Um, I'm gonna pause that. I'm gonna go into. I'll start drawing, and then we can go right back
Okay,
into this
all
workout
right.
stuff. But
You should be
yeah,
you should be good to share your screen.
we are share screen time. Boom. So for this week, I know we talked about doing backgrounds and stuff from last week,
Yeah.
but I thought because we kind of like I kind of had a group going with Clem. I
Mm-hmm.
actually started setting up this scene where it's just him
Mm-hmm.
and he's playing cards.
Mm-hmm.
So for today, I mean, I've already have some of the work done with already the design here, but today I'm just going to explore Clem himself and this setup for the scene and kind of. I mean, I'm not going to worry about the furniture stuff and the chairs, but I am going to just kind of get his pose kind of where I want it to be
Mm-hmm.
for this particular scene, and I'll continue complaining about ring fit.
Okay.
So
So aside from it making you sore, like I don't have it. I haven't played it. The last time I did one of Nintendo's fitness games, I think it was the Wii Fit Plus on the Wii U.
okay,
So that was like 2013, something like that. So
uh huh.
almost a decade ago, something insane like that. So
Mm-hmm.
it's been a while for me.
For me, I actually played with on the Wii balance board. I think they had on the just the standard Wii. Is
Mm-hmm.
what they
Mm-hmm.
called it.
Yeah,
I
the Wii Fit, the original Wii Fit on
the
the
Wii, yeah,
Wii.
the Wii
Yeah,
Fit, yeah, and I use that balance board. I love that thing. It was
I
actually
did
pretty
too,
cool.
and that was a great accessory. They did some really fun things with it. One of my favorite uh, implementations of it was actually not even done by Nintendo. It was done by EA of all companies.
Oh my gosh, what? EA
Uh,
actually made it. Okay, all right.
you may remember a short-lived franchise called Skate. It was a really popular skateboarding game that was a little bit more realistic than Tony Hawk. In the
Hmm.
same vein of the Tony Hawk games, but slightly more realistic. Had a really, really robust trick system that involved flicking the thumbstick left, right, and all different directions to do ollies and things like that. Really fun. I liked it a lot. A little bit harder than Tony Hawk, but still pretty entertaining. They did a version called Skate It for the Wii, and they used the balance board, so you could actually stand on the balance board like a skateboard, and it detected your weight distribution, and you could actually move around on the balance board, skate
Wow.
around on the balance board. It was
Okay.
really fun. I really enjoyed it. It wasn't
Um,
like a perfect implementation because all of that technology was relatively low fidelity, honestly.
mhm.
Um, but when it worked, it was like, this is pretty cool.
Huh. So it would take the Wii balance board and it would be able to detect if you're moving, leaning left and right,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Leaning
and then
forward, leaning back.
you're using the nunchuck to control it.
Yeah,
Like,
you'd use the nunchuck and the Wii remote to like do tricks and stuff. But then you would
okay,
steer and on by standing on the balance board. So
huh.
you used all of the things to make it work, but it was fun. It really gave your brain a workout. I mean, it's like playing drums, right? Like you're
Yeah.
using all four of your limbs
Hmm.
to make your character move around, and I just thought it was a really great concept. And it was just the fact that it came from EA was just like, wow, oh, okay, well there you go.
So I wonder, like, did EA actually develop it, or did they just find somebody that was working on the software and then just put the skate uh, IP, or I mean, the label on it,
Yeah,
and then said, "This is going to be our new skate game."
I wouldn't put it past EA.
I know it's funny how I'm just trying to discredit them all right
Yeah,
off the bat.
exactly.
Biased,
So,
but
I have no insight into the development of Skate It, but I did enjoy it. I thought it was a really clever concept, and I thought that I wish I could have seen people, because Nintendo always makes these great accessories.
yeah,
They play with them for a little bit and then abandon them.
and then poof, they're gone.
Yeah, and I always want like other developers to come in and experiment with it. And sometimes you see it, but most of the time, it's just kind of abandonware, honestly.
Yeah, yeah. Um, Yeah, I remember the balance board. I was thinking, like, what are the possibilities they could do with it? So that's really cool with the skate. I didn't even realize they did that for the skate it or whatever it's called.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But did they ever make any other games for the Wii Fit? I don't think they. I don't know what they did. Like, I used the Wii Fit for what it was packaged with. Just that game, the Wii Fit, I
Yeah.
guess. So
So on the Wii U, they used you could plug the Wii Fit board into the Wii U as well.
okay.
Nintendo did this fun collaborative thing with Google, actually, which they sunset ultimately. But for a while, you could download an app that used Google Street View, official Google Street View photos, and you could go on these walking tours of cities all over the world.
Wow.
And you plugged in the Wii Balance board and you walked in place. And then you would lean left and right to change your direction. I think you could use the D-pad on one of the controllers as well. And
Huh.
you could go on these virtual walking tours of all of these very famous locales. I think they had like Tokyo and Paris and a few other places.
So that would be actually beneficial if you're getting ready to go to another country. You can actually kind of do a pre-walk of it.
Yeah,
You
yeah, it
know.
was a fun thing. It was a fun little gimmick that I played, but then they sunset it and like actually deleted it from the Wii U App Store, so you couldn't re-download it again if you wanted to.
Oh man, that's a bummer. I
Yeah,
wonder why they did that. Sometimes they'll leave stuff up forever. I mean, it's
yeah, yeah,
interesting.
yeah. So I think they
That
just didn't want to pay the licensing on it because they had to
mm,
license that from Google, and they probably just didn't want to continue paying that fee, and so they just said, ah, fine, whatever. Because it was
yeah.
free anyway. They weren't making any money on it. It was just sort of a hey, look what the fun things that you can do on our system. Oh, and the other thing too is because the Wii U had its own screen, you could actually hold up the screen, right, and move it around
Oh, that's
and
cool.
get different views compared to where you were walking on the main TV screen, if my memory serves.
Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Wii
So
U, underrated. I actually skipped it because I just wasn't. I don't know. I don't know what it was. I just steered away from the Wii U. Maybe I was disappointed with
you
the
and you
Wii.
and most people,
Yeah,
you and most
obviously.
people. Um,
Yeah.
um, I was not one of them. There were a couple of really great gems on the Wii U, and
Hmm.
the gamepad had a lot of really interesting, fun ideas that I just never really took off for whatever reason. Um,
Gamepad meaning the extra screen, right?
yeah,
Whatever.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. There was some really clever ideas. I know, like, my favorite version of Deus Ex Human Revolution was on the Wii U because they did a lot of really fun things with the gamepad. Simultaneous gameplay elements where you were like trying to keep an eye out on enemies approaching you while you were playing a hacking mini game on the gamepad.
Hmm.
Um, Warner Brothers did a really cool thing with Lego City Undercover. The best version of that game, in my opinion, is still on the Wii U because it
Hmm.
had all these different like off-screen features that you could do that you couldn't do on the other systems. So everything got squished into one screen in the later iterations.
Hmm.
But there was just something fun about the secondary screen that I don't think I thought it was fun, but I just don't think Nintendo did a particularly good job of selling the value proposition of it the way they did with the Switch.
Hmm.
So,
So now here we are with the Switch. I wonder what I mean. The Ring Fit's pretty dang cool. I gotta
mm-hmm.
say, for their current tech, I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with future games. If they do, though, that's the thing is, I don't know if it's just a gimmick game just for this one thing, and then that's it. They're gonna move on
If
or
I
and
had to
abandon
guess,
it.
I'd say it's a one-off. Yeah,
Yeah, that's a shame.
yeah. I don't see them
Um,
really utilizing it for anything else. Sort of like their
yeah,
Labo things, which were incredibly compelling, cool, kind of craft projects, but there's no growth potential for any of that.
hmm yeah. Labo thing. I remember seeing those packages on the shelves. I thought that's interesting. So, were they like STEM, like the STEM education type stuff that they're trying to
Not
push, trying to make?
really. I mean, they had some of that, but really, what it was just I think people in Nintendo were like, what can we do with the Joycons and the screens and the sort of the functionality of this? And they sort of realized that reflective tape is really bright in an infrared sensor,
Hmm.
and then you combine reflective tape with a bunch of cardboard gears and rubber bands, and you can do some crazy crazy things with it, like make entire pianos.
Yeah,
you know
yeah.
um so it was really there was a lot of really fun kind of technology experiments that were implemented with that. But I got two of them, and it takes up so much space, and cardboard and rubber bands don't last forever, and um, so I didn't really continue to pursue it. And then because I wear glasses, I couldn't really do the VR one because VR just doesn't really work for me. My prescription is so bad, um, and my glasses are so thick. VR is a non-starter for me, basically.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, I can't do VR myself because it's just I get motion sickness
motion
too
sickness.
much.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, but there's some exciting stuff that they do with it. But I haven't sat down to play anything VR in a while. But I remember back in the '90s, they had like those giant arcade VR machines where you sit in the middle of it and then you put the glasses on. And
Mm-hmm.
I could play those for maybe half hour, then I just get motion sickness. I couldn't play it anymore. So after that, I haven't touched anything VR related in any, longer than 5 minutes,
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
um, out of fear of just puking.
Sure, I get it.
So
I do not get motion sick. Just don't. Like, I've never been
yeah,
motion sick in my entire life. Like, I wouldn't
I
even
envy
know
that.
what
That's
the
cool.
experience is like. Yeah, I feel really fortunate about that, frankly.
Yeah, it's cool. That means you can play all the VR games you want.
And I don't
And
play any of them.
yeah.
I still remember going to a friend's place, and I said, "Well, this won't work for me. My prescription is too bad." And he's like, "No. They have a focus thing where you can slide it and change the focal points. They took into consideration people who needed glasses." So I was like, "All right, I don't think this is gonna work." He's like, "Ah, just give it a try." Okay. I put the thing on. It's completely out of focus. He said, "Okay, here, hold on. Any better? Any better? Any better? Any better? Any better? Any better?" He slides the focus thing all the way across, and it looks exactly the same to
Oh,
me. And he was like,
jeez.
"Oh,
Yeah.
I see your point."
Yeah. No point. Um, but that kind of it's kind of funny. I'm just thinking about other types of games that kind of did that. So the Virtual Boy was like one of the first ones to kind of do that, right? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
back in the day.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. And I could actually play that one for a little while, but then again, you're not moving around; you're just watching a bunch of red, really blood red pixels running back and forth on the
Yeah,
screen.
yeah,
It
exactly.
wasn't really the same.
No, it really wasn't VR. It was
Yeah,
Nintendo's first attempt to try to make 3D games, right?
yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, I have it. I have it. I have all 14 published games in the United States.
That's cool.
Yeah, yeah. My vision was still good enough back then that I could play it, and also it was it wasn't an enclosed thing because it was on a stand, and so you could like hold your head in there without it like pressing up against your face like the modern VR like whole
Yeah,
headsets do, and
yeah.
so I was still able to use glasses with it.
So then
Um,
that's a really good example of Nintendo again abandoning something after,
oh
and
yeah,
obviously because of money, I'm sure they didn't really do that well. I mean,
no, it was interesting and I'm forgetting his name now, which is a shame because he's the guy who created the Game Boy, created the Virtual Boy, and he like this is a passion project for him that Nintendo gave him a lot of leeway on, and
yeah,
when it
because he
was
kind of earned because he earned his clout with the Game Boy, right?
yeah exactly, and then when it was clear that it wasn't going to be a hit, he was sort of shamed as punishment. So there's stories of him being forced to man the Virtual Boy booth at trade shows and like standing there alone with no one showing up because no one was interested in this thing. And it
Oh,
was like, yeah, they really. This was back in the Hiroshi Yamauchi days where it was very, very. If you fail the company, you must be shamed for it, kind of thing. That's your
man, that
punishment.
ain't cool. I mean,
And it
you can't
actually
hit home
drove
run
him.
every
It,
time.
it it partially is the reason why he left the company to found his own studio.
What did he end up going into then after that?
Well, he didn't last long, unfortunately.
Hmm.
He was driving to work one morning on a rainy day in Japan, and his car broke down. I think it blew a tire or something. And while he was in the road trying to repair it, a semi truck lost control and killed him.
Oh
Yeah,
man,
yeah,
that's a that's a sad story.
yeah.
Jeez.
So,
Uh,
but it's just an interesting thing. But I still have my Virtual Boy, and I have all 14 U.S. published games, including Waterworld.
they made Waterworld for that game
Yeah,
for
they
that
sure
system.
did. Yeah, they
Oh
sure
my
did.
gosh,
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
that's crazy.
Yeah,
I mean, considering, well, I mean, why not? I guess I mean it was. I think at the time, I think Waterworld was notorious for being a really huge overspend of a movie. So why not make a Virtual Boy game as well? I mean, that seems right on brand with
no, it
Waterworld, I
is. It was
guess.
so on brand, and the game was awful. It was so
I'm
bad.
sure it was just like the movie.
Yeah,
And everyone,
yeah.
yeah.
So, in any case, yeah. I don't have it. I think that one just sort of died of its own weight. I didn't have anything else to add about that one.
Hmm.
But in any case, um, so we're setting up Clem playing poker here. It would appear.
Yes, I'm just kind of setting up the scene, just getting a rough feel for how this may look.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, it's there's some other things I want to work on. I'm not happy with his jeans. I like the colors all right.
Mm-hmm.
I still want to play with them a little bit, but yeah. As far as blocking, this kind of feels okay. And any thoughts on your side?
He, I really like how slim he is on the right image.
Yeah, yeah, and I like how exaggerated it is too. If you
Mm-hmm.
notice that as we were talking, I mean, I was kind of just as I was working, I started to slim him down. He's still too chunky. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
we'll slim him down a little bit. I like him. I like him. I like this ratio on the right,
Agreed.
the way I had him.
Yeah. Yeah.
This ratio is still not working, so that needs to be worked on. Now, I mean, there's a couple of things we could do. It's an easy fix. We could probably just give it a shot now. But if I made his head a little bigger, that might help a little bit. I mean, and maybe the shot. I mean, his head's almost could take up a lot of the frame.
Right.
But I like the fact that he needs to look kind of frail. So I need to probably change his pose here a little bit so he's not as upright. Maybe
Well,
taper him in a
I
little bit.
like how narrow his torso is relative to his shoulders in the right one. I
Hmm.
guess. Right. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, I'm with you. It's just a matter of tweaking it to get it there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I could literally just copy this over and bring it over here and do that and use that as the torso.
I you know
I'm just kind of
I'm it's easy me I'm an armchair artist, so
that's fine.
I could say whatever I want and like be right, because I don't have to prove myself.
The thing for me, I'm trying to do is I know Clem's in this episode and in future episodes quite a bit, so I need to get in the habit of not relying on just this pose.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, this is more of an experiment as to when I want to draw him someplace else, how am I going to do it, and
That
what are
makes
the
sense.
rules I'm going to follow.
Yeah.
So I definitely like your observation about what you liked about him, how narrow he was.
Mm-hmm.
That'll definitely be a rule for him. Um, but now it's just a matter like it's just me kind of it's like when you're it's a weird comparison, but like when you buy a new car or you're test driving a new car, you kind of have to just take it around and take it for a test drive a little bit. That's what I'm doing with him right now. I'm just kind of getting a feel for how he is
Mm-hmm.
and how I'm going to draw him future wise and not rely on that pose.
I
But
think that makes sense.
yeah, so that way I could do a whole create a whole what do you call it? A whole style guide for him if I wanted to, and then draw it, and not have to always just go back to this. This is the only pose he's ever going to live in.
Right.
Although it's kind of funny. Yeah, the thing is he does, in the episode he does have a couple of lines here and there, and the pose is different a little bit.
Yeah.
So I have to solve this issue. If not, I would have just stuck with this pose and left it as is. But
Yeah.
because of his line later on,
Because of that
late,
jerk writer and his gall to.
so but yes, I definitely hear you. Um, we'll get there soon enough. So just a
I
matter of,
also like how he's got his right arm like sort of on the table as well, as opposed to just hanging by his side.
mhm.
Um, but I don't like. I'm not like married to that. I also think that him just sort of letting his arm dangle as well is fine because like Clem is just one of those kind of guys where in as much as he can let he wants in as much as he can let gravity do the work for him, he's going to
Yeah,
let gravity do the work for him, right?
yeah. I
Like
feel like with him, he's like that. He's kind of the opposite of those martial arts masters who say less is like no effort is better, that type of thing, like no wasted movement. For
right.
him, he embraces that and just wants to have whatever whatever requires the less amount of energy, the better.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That's absolutely right. I mean, he is just not um like yeah, sure he could put his arm on the table, but then it would require him to move it. It's not that he can't do it. It's just like why? It's perfectly good on his lap there.
yeah,
I would if like Clem's spirit animal is a sloth.
yes,
Is my assessment basically.
yeah. That's how I felt about him too. Just when I read the script with him, everything about him was very slow, not really methodical. He's not like he thinks about a whole bunch,
No,
but it's
no, no, no.
just
Right. He's
slow.
not plotting. This isn't a guy who is like secretly working for some spy agency and, when he moves, it's definitive. Like he's just right. He just doesn't have a reason to do anything.
Yeah.
So,
But
that's
yeah, versus him having his arm dangle, I think it looks better on his lap. I
okay.
could put on his, I could, I'll experiment, put it on his table too. But then the pose kind of gets a little bit complicated in
A
this
little
area.
busy up there. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're
So
probably
this,
right about
this,
that.
so this could probably work a little bit better. I mean, the other thing I got to think about this too is, I mean, I could just make the table like huge, in like that size, but and that covers up a lot of issues.
That's true. That's true. But that's a
Um,
cheat because at some point you're gonna have to draw him when he's not sitting behind that table.
yeah, yeah. So again, this is why I'm kind of just doing some of the work now. I'm playing with it now, but
I mean, already that looks a little bit better than when you started.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
the same
so
way too.
yeah,
Let's see here.
I'm looking at the scarf now, and I love the scarf, and I feel like it has a story.
Really?
Yeah, I think the scarf. I don't think that scarf is an accident on Clem. I don't know what the story is yet, but I'm looking at that going that scarf that has a story. That's a story
Well,
for someday. For someday, that scarf is a story.
well, that's the job of the writer.
I
Just
know. I know.
it sounds like it's cranking away. So you got some idea.
I keep giving the writer more work. That's my goal.
Those boots are way too loud to play
Those
music
are
with.
pretty loud. Yeah. Those should be. I feel like more of a traditional like brown leather kind
Yeah,
of. Yeah.
yeah, pretty much standard.
Yeah. He's worn those boots for. He was born in those boots.
Let's see here. Let me he probably was actually, right? I
Yeah.
mean,
Right. I mean, like.
uh it's funny. I mean, I'm gonna start. I'll try. I know we're running out of time, so
Oh no,
but
it's fine.
I was gonna try this out too.
Okay.
But what if I kind of wanted to just have an excuse to draw this,
All right. I
but I
think. I
wanted to
think you
have like, what if he just has a bowler hat
instead of a sombrero.
instead of a sombrero? Yeah,
Okay.
but this could go on to somebody else altogether.
I mean, he
It was
does.
more. It was just me saying, what if?
I mean, I don't think it's out of the question. There is another character that might work.
Could
Yeah,
yes,
work pretty
yeah,
well on. So it's
yeah,
definitely something to think about. Um,
yeah. That doesn't mean just drawing in in like less than a minute. So obviously it's not done right or to scale. but
I can see
yeah.
a bowler hat. Yeah, yeah. I like the sombrero better on Clem,
Hmm.
but I
But
definitely can see it for the other character that I'm pretty sure you know who I'm talking about.
yeah, and
So
that's what I was thinking about today a little bit. So I was like, you know what? I should throw this out there
yeah, no,
as
I
a
think it
possibility
makes
for
sense.
something
And
else.
I think that it could be the reason why there is tension between two characters, is that bowler hat in particular.
Yeah,
So that's interesting. Okay.
yeah,
See, it's articles of clothing can. I mean, like the way a character looks, the way a character dresses, can have a huge impact on the character. I mean, it's you do tend to think about all of those things, um, because we do in real life, right? People have favorite shirts, people have favorite shoes and favorite hats, and there's a reason why those things have meaning. Um,
yeah,
and um, um, and so why wouldn't a character in a show also have that same kind of have that same kind of meaning for their personal belongings, right? So it's
Hmm.
never a bad thing to think about why they wear the things that they wear.
Yeah.
So that's just a final deep thoughts moment as we start wrapping up
Deep
for the evening.
thoughts.
Deep thoughts with Jack Handy.
Let's see here. I was just gonna do one more thing
Mm-hmm.
before we sign off. Let me just do this. Bring this over here for fun.
We're going to do a side by side.
Uh-huh. Take this out, that out, and we'll bring this guy back over.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah, I mean, I think you should take that one to the bank because I think that'll be the direction.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, I could keep doodling this bowler hat for a while, but anyway,
Yeah,
that's a whole other side conversation. Maybe we'll revisit for another time
for another
for the
time.
Clem's corner of the universe.
In the meantime, I think we're gonna wrap it up for the evening. Clem's bowler hat halfway complete. Thanks for chatting as always, James, and everybody else. You can find us at calamityjane.rocks. That'll take you to our Patreon site, or you can find us on YouTube and Facebook, which presumably is where you're seeing this in the first place. Otherwise, stay safe out there, and we'll see you next week.
Bye, everybody.
Good night.